Shabbat Shalom, and we bring you greetings from the celestial circle of light here at Congregation Kol Ami. We welcome all of our Kolamites as well as all of our visitors of every gender and all the ships at sea. We are here to celebrate Shabbat, and it's a delight to be gathered here today. It's a special Shabbat tonight because we're going to be led by our youth group, and you're going to see young people with taunt skin and bright eyes, and for a change, and it'll be very exciting. But in the meantime, we need to do good and blessing, because the truth of the matter is, regardless of our circumstances, whether it's plagues, whether it's expulsions, exiles, persecutions, we have held it together as a community for 3,000 years. But the truth of the matter is, it's not because any single Jew is any more special than any non-Jew. That's not our secret. It's not even the secret that we have family. Everybody has family. We have community, but everybody has community. But what we have beyond that is a sacred society, a civilization, no less, that draws us all together constantly. So wherever we find ourselves, in whatever circumstances, it is the fact that we are one together that helps us and sustains us through these times. So we want to do some good and blessing in the congregation tonight. And we're going to begin by giving special thanks to Morgan Dakar, our soloist, and to all of our youth group who's going to be helping us out with our service tonight. We want to recognize our in-person minion in the form of Kennedy Cagle and Samson and Casey and Steve and Bob, Becky and Rachel Lennard and Paul Dietz and the Cagles. They're all here with us, and we are delighted to have them in our presence and to create this community for us all. This week, we have birthdays. I'm going to adjust that just a little bit. So our birthdays include this week, Ashley Bender, Henry Dower, Matilda Dower, and Penelope Dower. Oh, that must be a busy week in that house. Linda Feldman and Pam Feldman, not related. Mel Gross, Shai Manzuri, and his son Simon Manzuri, and Megan Topelson. So a happy birthday to each and every one of them. We also want to acknowledge anniversaries. Harry and Leanne Hiles are having their anniversary, but a very special anniversary for Stephen and Jeanette Dubrow. They are celebrating their 50th. Yes, I said that correctly, 50th anniversary. What a machaya. What an amazing thing. That's extraordinary. But even better than that, their children, Gian and Jeremy, are celebrating their 15th anniversary. So, you know, we're just packing a lot of simcha in this week. So that's really great. Is there anybody else here in the congregation who has a good and blessing to share? No, we're just in our ordinariness. Anybody online? All right. So I have to tell you about my small good and blessing, which is that we now have a new air conditioning unit, which is great. But even better than that, I got a giant disc of concrete out of the whole thing. And I was trying to decide what I was going to do with my disc of concrete when I turned it over, and it turns out it's hollowed out. It's a bowl. So we now have an Olympic-size bird bath in the backyard of the Dennis house. So I'm very excited about that. So those are the good and blessings that we're enjoying. I hope that each and every one of you can find something in your life to be grateful for this week. So now that we have come together, it's time to kindle Shabbat lights. And in order to lead this service from this point on, I turn this over to NoTTY, the North Texas Temple Youth that is going to be leading us tonight. So take it away, folks.
We're going to start with the kindling of the Shabbat lights. Please turn to page 1. hovered over the darkness, God's first creation was light. As we kindle these Shabbat lights, we attest to the majesty of God's work and rejoice in its beauty. Light is a symbol of divinity and creative goodness. It is outward sign of the inner spark which God has granted each of us. In hope and with love, we now welcome Shabbat with light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu b'hadis ner shel Shabbat. Please turn to page 2 for Lachuna Ranera.
Lechuneranena, 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 Ladonai. Lechuneranena, 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 Ladonai. Naria, naria, letzori, shenim, mikatmafana, betoda. Naria, naria, letzori, shenim, naria lo. Lechuneranena, 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 Adonai. Lechuneranena, 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 Adonai.
Please turn to page 3 for Yismechu Hashamayim.
Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel haaretz.
Again, here we go.
Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel haaretz. Yiramayam, 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 Umelo. Yiramayam, 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 Umelo. Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel haaretz.
Psalm 97. Adonai reigns, let the land exalt and the many islands rejoice. Dense clouds surround God. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of God's throne. God's lightning illumines the world. Light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. O you who are righteous, rejoice in Adonai and acclaim God's holy name.
It is you who has established. It is you who established equality. What? Okay.
Exalt Adonai our God, and bow down toward God's footstool. God is holy. Exalt Adonai our God, and bow down towards God's holy mountain. For Adonai is God and holy.
Ascribe to Adonai, you children of God.
Ascribe to Adonai glory and strength.
Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name.
Worship Adonai in the beauty of holiness. May Adonai give strength to this people. May Adonai bless this people with peace.
Please turn to page 7 for Lachadodi.
Lechadodi likratala yadada 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 b'nei Shabbat v'kavela Likrat kala yadada 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 b'nei Shabbat lekavela shamor b'zavor b'dibur echad Ishmianu el hamiluchai Adonai echad u'shmo echad Shemot tiferet ve'litila lechadodi likrat kala yadada 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 b'nei Shabbat lekavela lechadodi likrat kala yadada 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 b'nei Shabbat lekavela Likrat Shabbat letuvenecha ki mikor ha'halacha merosh mikedem nesucha Soma ha'aseh gemak Shabbat tila lechadodi likrat kala yadada 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 b'nei Shabbat lekavela lechadodi likrat kala yadada 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 b'nei Shabbat lekavela hitoreri hitoreri Kiva orei kumiri Uri, Uri, Shiragaveri, Shabbat Adonai, Alai, Nikla, Lecha, Lecha, Jodi, Likrat, Kala, Yadada, 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 B'nei Shabbat, Lecha, Vela, Lecha, Jodi, Likrat, Kala, Yadada, 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 B'nei Shabbat, Lekavela, Roim Shalom, Lateret Bala, Kamet Simcha, Sotola, Toven Munei, Amsei Kula, Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Lechad Jodi Likrat Kala, Yadada, 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 B'nei Shabbat, Lekavela, Lechad Jodi Likrat Kala, Yadada, 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 B'nei Shabbat, Lekavela.
A song for Shabbat.
It is good to give thanks to Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night,
with the harp, with voice, in
lyre and harmony.
The righteous bloom like a palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon.
Please turn to page 9 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Yikra v'yikra shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei.
V'chayechonu v'yamechon u'chayet kol beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, ubizman kari, v'maru, amen. Yesh me'raba mevorach, le'alam ulal me'omaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, Shemeda Kudasha, Brehu, Le'ela min kol berchata b'shir hata, Tush bechata v'nemata, Tami iran be'alma, v'yamaru, amen.
If able, please rise for the Baruch Hu.
Mariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokma poteach sha'arim, uvidvuna mishanei itim, umachlit et hasmanim, umsader et hakokavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirotsona, Barei yom v'layla, golel or mifnei hoshet, v'hoshech mifnei or, umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila. Adonai Sevaot Shemo, El Chai v'kayam tamid yimlok aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravi.
Unending is your love for your people, the house of Israel, Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts you have taught us. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and rejoice in your Torah and mitzvot forever.
Days and nights we will reflect on them, for they are our life and our length of our days.
Then the blood shall never depart from our hearts. Blessed is Adonai, who loves his people Israel.
Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levav v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anoki mitzadecha hayom alevadecha v'shimrantam le'lecha v'nivartam bam v'shivtecha beitecha uv'leftecha b'derech uv'shatecha uv'kumecha uv'shartam le'ot al yadecha le'hayu l'totafot bein einecha uv'tachtam al mizazot beitecha uv'isharecha leman tiskaru v'atzitem et kol mitzvotai v'yetem kedoshim le'lalehem ani Adonai Eloheim asher hotziתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות להם אלוהים. אני Adonai Elohim. True and enduring, beloved and precious, awesome and good and beautiful is the eternal teaching. This truth we hold to be forever certain. Adonai is our ruler, the rock of Jacob, the shield of our salvation. Adonai our God, you redeemed us from Egypt. You set us free from the house of bondage. For this people who felt your love sang songs of praise to you.
Living God, high and exalted, mighty and awesome.
Who humbles the proud and raises the lowly, who frees the captive and redeems the oppressed, who is the answer to all who cry out.
All praise to God Most High, the source of blessing.
Like
Like
Moses and Israel,
we
who
sing this song of rejoicing.
One more time, yada-dai, here we go.
Grant that we lie down in peace, Adonai our God, and raise up, O Sovereign, to the life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, for your name's sake be our help. Shield us from hatred and plague. Keep us from war, famine, and anguish. Subdue our inclination to evil. O God, our guardian and helper, our gracious and merciful sovereign, give us refuge in the shadow of your wings. O guard our coming and our going, that always we have life and peace. We praise you, O God, whose sukkah of peace is spread over us, over all your people, Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Adonai, sempatang kita ukia gita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech Eloheinu v'imoteinu. Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov. Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Mahanora, El Elyon Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Bekonei HaKol, V'zocher Hasei Avot Ma'ot, U'mevii Gula Lifnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava. Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Nezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav L'Hoshia, Mechayeh Chayim V'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol V'Rachamim Rabim, Tomech Noflim V'Rofei Holim. Umatir Asurim, Umachayeh Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mochav Al Gevurot, Umidol Melech, Melech Memit Umachayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'emanata Lechayotahu. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shemcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yuhalu pasela. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. You may be seated. Please turn to page 21 for Yismachu. Yismachu b'malachutecha, וקורא עונג שבת. מקדשי ראשית שבת. כולם יסעו ויטמאו כתוב לך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו בקדוש שבת. חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
Adonai, our God, show favor toward your people Israel and lovingly receive our prayers. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable, for you alone to behold in reverence. We give thanks to you, Adonai, our God and God of our ancestors. You are the rock of our lives, the shield of our salvation for all generations. We thank you and recite your praises. Let all the living affirm you and praise your name as the God of our salvation and help. Praised are you, Adonai. Goodness is your name. All praises to you.
Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amin. Osei shalom bimromah, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amin. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. This week's Torah portion is Vayet Hanan, and it is the second Torah portion found in the book of Deuteronomy. In it, we read about Moses' final plea with God to let him into the land of Israel, and of Moses' speech to the Israelites. This Torah portion has the Ten Commandments, the Shema, and the V'ahavta. Many rabbis consider this portion to be a greatest hit. This means that rabbis think that this Torah portion helps to summarize the entire Torah into one portion. In this portion is Moses' speech to the Israelites after God told him for the final time that he could not go into the promised land. In his speech, Moses recalls when he brought down the Ten Commandments. What the Ten Commandments are, the Shema, the V'ahavta, and refers to a previous Torah portion named Maaseh, which happened to be my Torah portion for my bat mitzvah. Moses' entire speech is a warning to the Israelites. He wants to make sure that they understand that they must follow God's laws. In his speech, Moses is begging the Israelites to follow God's laws and to be dedicated to him. Moses has seen the wrath of God and doesn't want the Israelites to see his wrath. Moses dedicated his entire life to following God's words, but he made a mistake and is being punished for it. He is using this speech to warn the Israelites that they need to be dedicated to God. He says, "Know, therefore, that only the Lord your God is God, the steadfast God who keeps his covenant faithfully to the 1,000th generation of those who love him and keep his commandments, but who instantly requites with destruction those who reject him, never slow with those who reject him, but requiting them instantly. Therefore, observe faithfully the instruction, the laws and rules with which I charge you today." By making this speech, Moses is commanding the Israelites to follow God's laws. This Torah portion is about following God's laws and being dedicated to him. This Torah portion is all about how we need to be dedicated to God and how by being dedicated to him, we will be rewarded. I believe that this Torah portion is about how we are the chosen people and we will be rewarded, but we must be dedicated and follow God's laws. This is hard in modern society because many laws and practices are different than they were at the time that the Torah was written. This Torah portion is still relevant today, but now that we do not follow all of the commandments in the traditional manner, we must find other ways to be dedicated to him. I think in modern society, we must not only follow the traditional laws where we can, but we must find other ways to be dedicated to God and follow His laws where tradition no longer applies. For example, you can be dedicated to God by doing acts of charity or mitzvot. I believe that by doing simple acts of charity to honor God, we can be dedicated to God now. We can also be dedicated to God by going to services, by helping our neighbors or our friends, and by simply being respectful people. By doing this, we show God that we are still dedicated to Him and that we are also good people. In his speech, Moses refers to the Shema to remind the Israelites that there is only one God. He refers to the Via Hafta to remind us that we can always be dedicated to God by loving Him and by studying the Torah. After reading this portion, I now understand why rabbis consider this to be one of the greatest hits in the Torah. This Torah portion contains some of the founding principles of Judaism. It has the Shema and the Via Hafta, which we say in every service, and the 10 Commandments. This Torah portion covers almost every aspect of Judaism and was very interesting to read. While working on my Devar, I kept thinking about how I was going to connect this to NoTTY and KG. Then it hit me. This portion is about being dedicated to God, and by being part of NoTTY and KG, you're being dedicated to God. In NoTTY and KG, we honor God by doing acts of charity, coming together as a group to lead services, and working together to make the community and our synagogue a better place. By joining NoTTY and KG, you get to be part of a group of people who want to better our community and synagogue and are dedicated to God. As it turns out, this was the perfect parsha for me to write a Devar for. Thank you for attending in person and online with us tonight. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I want to thank Rachel and Kennedy, Adam, Hannah, and Shula, Morgan especially too, for this really fun Shabbat. They look like hostages from the masks, not because they're having a miserable time. If your child or if you are a child watching and you're interested in joining NoTTY or KG, please reach out to myself. If you're over 18, if you're under 18, you can still reach out to me, but I'm not that much fun. Reach out to Rachel, Kennedy, Hannah, tell Naomi, tell anybody, and they can get you some more information. Our next service project is going to be around Rosh Hashanah, so there'll be something fun there. Speaking of Rosh Hashanah, there will be some High Holy Day information coming out in the blast next week, so keep your eye out for that. And what else this week? Religious school registration is open, so go check the website for that. If you have any questions, you can contact Bob in the office or myself. We're still looking for volunteers for the Parent Advisory Committee, so please send me an email as well if you're interested in that. And if you have any general questions about the upcoming year and what religious school is going to look like, feel free to give me a call or reach out via email. Anything else? That's it. And join NoTTY because they don't want to do this alone all the time. For this week, we have a list of people that we want to keep in our thoughts. Before I read that out loud, does anybody in the room have somebody they'd like to add to the Misha Berach list? Little ladies? Rachel Cohen Miller. Oh, you took mine. Someone said Ruth Bader Ginsburg. RBG.
Stanley Levy.
Okay.
Oh, Miami Marlins.
Can't really follow that well, but in addition to those names, that we're also thinking of Anna Binder, Sid Binder, Kuala Kism, Dave Cook, Gordon Ellison, Tammy Ferris, Michelle Griffith, Mel Gross, Ken Hirschman, Jody Hoffman, Judy Hurwitz, Deb Kaufman, Alex Koenig, Lauren Koenig, Bill Lee, Sandy Lensner, Stanley Levy, Teresa Morgan, Judy Morisak, Don Neal, Scott Samlin, Adrian Sandler, Myra Schusler, and Ted Pelletier. Morgan?
May the source of strength who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishabera imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Please join us on page 82 for the Elenu. Please rise at Babel.
Alenu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'tekedula liotzer breshit shelo asanu kikoye haratzot v'lo samanu kamishpachot harama shelo sam kelchenu kachem v'gohor alenu kechol hamonam. V'nachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech melchei chamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Shehu notei shamayim ve'osed haaretz u'moshev yikaro b'shamayim imal u'shchinatu zo v'gavchei meromim hu Eloheinu einot emet malkeinu ethesulato Kagatuv b'Torato, v'ratahayom v'hashivota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim, b'shamayim imal, v'al haaretz mitachat ein od. Oh.
Gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the sea, and illuminate bliss and of peace. Yom Hahu, Bayom Hahu, Yeh Adonai Echad, Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo Echad.
Well, I want to come here at the end of the service to praise our precious young people for the wonderful leadership that they provided, but especially acknowledge the wondrous and delightful Miss Casey, who has organized all of this and taken on the task of our youth group this coming year. We are so grateful for her involvement, as we are grateful for the involvement of all of our young people. So I hope you'll wish them a quiet kol hakavod from wherever you are for leading our service. However, we are going to draw our service to a conclusion by thinking of all those individuals who have passed away. We take all of them into our hearts with our own as we remember them and we honor those who mourn for them. We begin by asking, is there anybody observing Shiva? Anybody here in the community gathered here, or anybody out there in the larger community? Anything, Bob? Nope. All right. For Shloshim, we're thinking of Alan Merkler, the father of Lori Applebaum, who died this past month. Is there anyone else here observing Shloshim? Anybody in the larger community there, Bob? All right. So this week, we want to remember the yard sites of these people connected to our community: Eleanor Austin, Winnie Bond, Patricia Collins, Julia Eckber, Marvin Levin, Robert Singer, and Mariam Vego. So each and every one of them is remembered and appreciated and celebrated by their individual family members, but we want to include them in our larger community. Is there anybody else here observing a yard site? Thank you. The memory of all these people are here with us now. We join together as a community on page 85 to recite Kaddish. Please rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chayei d'chol beit Israel, bagalal ubizman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei d'kudsham b'richu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba mim shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us. And let us say, amen. Please be seated. If this were a performance, this would be the moment for the encore. But this is not a performance. This is a sacred worship. So instead, we have our young people are going to help us out with the final element of our service, which is Kiddush and the Motzi. So, and a closing song, not to let that get away from us. So let's start with our closing song, and then we'll conclude out with Motzi and Kiddush.
Since we're all here together, and I think Rachel made a great point of being here together all to pray, we're going to sing Hine Matov, which can be found on page 100, number 20 in the prayer books. So here we go, Hine Matov. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, shevet achim gam yachad.
The dial. Now, everybody, who's got the best underhand pitch here? Give it a try. We're all gonna give it a try here, everybody. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, notzi lechem min haaretz. I've only gotten this way, so you guys all are this way, right? Get a cross thing going on, right? Nice.
Adam, throw it.
There we go. There we go.
I was so right.
Mr. Paul. There we go. All right, Miss Becky. Everybody, Miss Becky, simultaneously.
Here, Miss Stacy.
There we go. All right. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.